seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You have 60 seconds to comply. This is minute 8. Part man?
Part machine.
Or pod. Would you like to lead off with the minutes, Connor?
This minute begins with Bob Morton heading towards the meeting and ends with, and it must be cut out before we employ the million workers who will breathe, and then it gets cut off there.
It's the old man's I have a dream speech.
Yes.
So in my notes, I always refer to the old man as Tom.
Oh.
The old man.
That's good. Yeah, because he really is only credited as the old man.
There is no other name for the old man. But of course, part of me is like going, we have Tom, we have Dick. Sadly, we don't have a Harry.
So he is played by Dan O'Hurley in both this and RoboCop 2. So he has been in multiple films of this franchise. This is one of the roles he is best known for, and he doesn't even get a proper name.
I know. I think he shines more in RoboCop 2 than he does in this. He's really a bit more of a passive character. Well, okay, he's in like 2 scenes. They're literally in the same set. They clearly filmed all these back to back, because I do have some notes on that.
Oh, yeah.
But we can get to that in a tick. So Connor, great news. We've got a sponsor.
Well, we do.
But I'm absolutely excited to announce that we have been sponsored by Omni Consumer Products.
Ah.
Yes, there is a real-life Omni Consumer Products. I'm not joking. There is an actual real-life Omni Consumer Products.
I have noticed that when I've been Googling and researching, yeah.
Yes. Okay, I am lying. They're not sponsoring us. But
didn't you like our really convincing voice acting?
Yeah, I know. It's almost like we're professionals at this stage.
Oh, yeah.
So, I've heard about them, God, it must be at least over 10 years ago, because they became the officially licensed developer and marketer of Stay Puft Marshmallows.
No.
I'm not joking. You can look this up. Brondo, which is the energy drink from Idiocracy. It's got What Plants Crave. Sex Panther, the deodorant used in Anchorman. They bought licenses and made real products based on movie licenses and stuff. I don't think they've been in operation since like 2017, or at least that's the only thing I find on the official Twitter, was about 2017. Their webpage hasn't been updated in God knows how long, and it shows you a lot of their old products, and I think there's, according to the website, they've still got licensing for at least 2 of them.
Right.
But yeah, Omni Consumer Products was a real thing in real life. How messed up is that?
I mean, at least it was like a geek thing. It was aware of what it was, yeah.
Yeah, I think they were marketing through ThinkGeek, at least initially.
Oh, okay. Because there's also Omnicom Group, which keeps coming up as well, and that doesn't seem insidious at all.
But we got a full minute of OCP, and we got one of the big climatic moments next minute, I believe, as well.
Not to be confused with ICP, which is Insane Clown Posse.
Oh God, no! Sorry, I just had an image of the old man in in the posse makeup.
Yeah, I think there's a specific name for that makeup. I don't remember what it was.
Juggalo.
The Juggalo look. Yeah, it takes me back.
And there's that part in the big speech where he goes, "Fucking magnets, how do they work?"
Yeah, exactly.
That's the extent of my Insane Clown Posse knowledge.
Yeah, same. Well, I did try to watch, for a bad movie night, we did try to watch one of the movies that they starred in. I think they actually had some creative control over it, and we could not finish it. We just no, it's too bad. It's just too much.
I love that one of them, one of the posse members, their daughter is a furry, and so they got a custom crafted furry suit with the Juggalo makeup on there so they could go with their daughter to furry cons.
That's adorable.
I know. How wholesome is that?
It is so wholesome.
I'll try and find a link and put it in the show notes, along with the website for Omni Consumer Products, our fake sponsor for this episode.
It's a shame they're not around anymore, because that would be great. We could collaborate.
Yeah, I always wanted to get some Brondo, just to have the can, I guess it is, because I do love Idiocracy. That is a dumb fun film, and strangely more utopian than America today.
Yeah, I want to watch it again, because that's going to be a totally different experience watching it in 2020 than it was in I don't know, 2005 or whenever it came out.
Because the president in the movie is played by Terry Crews. I can't remember the character's name. It's been over a decade since I last saw it. But the difference between him and Trump is he actually listens to his scientific advisors.
Yeah. So the old man, he sounds almost exactly like Christopher Lee.
He does, doesn't he?
It's very commanding. I think that's probably a major reason why he was cast, is just that very powerful voice.
Yeah, he's got that very, very much commanding presence. I love the old man.
I'm told, certain actors like Christopher Lee, that voice is so commanding, but hearing it recorded is not quite the same thing. When you hear it in person, it's just like, oh, wow.
My favourite thing I've ever heard Christopher Lee ever do is the audio commentary for some of the Lord of the Rings movies.
Oh, not the Christmas metal album that he put out?
I'm just talking about like pure just listening to him talk. And there's just that gravitas. And he's just constantly geeking out. Well, okay, geeking out in the way Christopher Lee can geek out because he was friends with Tolkien and he was a huge fan. So, like, all the stories you ever hear of Christopher Lee are just so fucking hardcore.
He's the coolest guy.
was.
I think the human race can just quit now because we already achieved perfection.
Yeah. And it was the guy who, was a legitimate murdering machine who then went on to become Dracula in the cheesy Hammer movies, as well as, like, the bad guy in Star Wars, the bad guy in Lord of the Rings.
Buck wild.
And apparently a very nice chap.
Yeah. So, we learned that the police are unionized.
Yes, they have a union which hates the... Oh, yeah, full introduction to Dick Jones as well. And he was... Because it's like the first time we see them together is the old man's complaining about the image of...
Because we did see Dick Jones in the news segment, I think.
We did, but we didn't really get a sense of who he was. He was just a random guy from OCP. And now we actually kind of started to get a good sense of what Dick Jones's role in the movie is. He'll come more into play definitely next minute, but he is literally like the right-hand man of the old man.
Yes.
That sounded better in my head.
It's just surprised me that there is a union at all. So, what are they doing?
Well, obviously not enough.
Yeah, clearly.
I don't know, because there's got to be police unions. Surely. There is. There's got to be a police union in real life. Or at least,
you assume so, yeah.
Multiple based on department. Because they have, they have certain degrees of rights and stuff like that.
So the old man says, all Detroit has a cancer.
Yeah.
The cancer is crime. A cancer that must be cut out. And so much like, well, this is a very local reference, but Basil Zemplis, this guy thinks that these sorts of problems can be solved through fascism and pushing the problem away rather than addressing the root causes, like poverty and social inequality.
Well, Basil Zemplis's whole thing is that he really wants to clean up the streets because he just wants to be able to walk down Perth and not see, crime and poverty and all the things that need fixing. He just wants to be blissfully ignorant, and that's his platform for mayor as time of this recording.
Do you not want to see homeless people? I feel the same. So we're just gonna put them elsewhere. Yeah. You don't have to ask questions of where we're putting these disgusting homeless people. I'm just going to get rid of them.
We're just going to put them somewhere else out of the public view. Oh, no. We're not going to put them in public housing or maybe in, all those abandoned hotels and stuff because of COVID. We're not getting the tourism. We're not going to do anything socialist. What are we, communists? Hey.
And it's the same thing here where so they're going to build Delta City, and so that's gentrification. That's just going to get rid of... It's going to get rid of the problem, all right, but by just going nuclear, basically just wiping the slate clean and then just making it too expensive for anyone under a certain socioeconomic status to live there.
So this is the bit that's starting to confuse me about the whole idea with them wanting to get rid of old Detroit to build Delta City. Makes sense from a horrible capitalistic point of view, but the whole Dick Jones, Clarence Boddicker, I know I'm skipping ahead, but the deal between those two is like, Clarence is basically just being bankrolled to do more crime by the second in command of a mega multi-billion dollar, we assume $1 billion now, corporation. And yet the part of that is they're killing a lot of cops.
Yeah.
Who are trying to fight crime. in many ways, it's like in the context of the movie, I think it's one of those things. It's fine.
Are they trying to create a false flag?
I might just be overthinking this.
To me, it made sense in terms of a false flag incident.
Yeah.
So, yes, they're directly working against their own interests, but that's the point. So that to the population of America, to the media, to the world at large, that's what it looks like on the outside, that Omni Corp comes through, saves the day, and makes the city great again.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I think it's one of those things where, of course, Dick probably had his own agenda outside of the old man's dream.
Dicks always have their own agenda.
I think the reason why it tweaked to me is because I think there's something in the novelization.
That was a great Dick joke. How dare you?
I missed it, please. What was that?
I said dicks always have their own agenda.
Oh. Yeah, I'm keeping that one in there. Because there's hints, I think, early on in the novelization that there's something going on between Broderick and Dick Jones, although it's not specifically mentioned Dick Jones, because I think Broderick mentions, like, they're getting paid to do this. It's a throwaway line, but it's also in the cut scene, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, it's just something I've been stewing on as I've been coming up to this minute. Oh, we also have the last half of the introduction of our three bottom-feeding executives of Morton, Kinney, and Johnson.
Yes.
So that's their full introduction. This point is when Morton actually turns around and says that his plan's better than Dick Jones's plan, and if only could go straight to the old man himself, which sow the seeds to what literally happens next minute.
Yeah. And just in terms of cinematography and camera movements, I don't get to talk about these things much because Prometheus is filmed in a very conventional way. But
don't worry, I've got a little bit of note on that, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, so in the first few seconds of this minute, you're following, Bond walking through into the meeting space, and then it just shifts so perfectly across to the old man, and it's just this
it's a great cut. Oh, no, the cut.
Yeah, it's continuous. So one continuous shot from one end of the room to the other.
Yeah, going back and watching this a couple of times, it's like, yeah, it's really good how well directed this particular section is. Here's the problem with that. This probably wasn't directed by Paul Verhoeven.
All right.
So the second unit director, let me just check my notes. Monty Hellman. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Please reach out, Monty, if you're... So he was hired as a second unit director because Verhoeven was going way over, but well, I'd say over budget, was getting way over schedule at this time. So they hired him to do a lot of pickups, and apparently Verhoeven did not like this. I think this is while they were all shooting in Dallas. So while Verhoeven was off doing one thing, this director was actually working with the main cast and doing a lot of other recordings. You can actually pick it out. Verhoeven doesn't really do a lot of tracking shots.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's probably that thing where this guy used a, like a stabilizer.
Like a dolly.
Yeah, I don't think it's any tracks, so it looks like it might be handheld or something like that, but it's smooth enough. It looks it's fine. I think cinematography, that might just be that sign that this was directed by someone else. And of course, scheduling would have to be that. He also would then have directed the end scene with Murphy in the boardroom with Dick Jones getting blowed out the window.
I don't think every scene has to be filmed in a really interesting way, but I definitely prefer directors who are more experimental with their camera. David Fincher is a prime example of, he's really trying to push the limits of where you can place that camera to the point that he has to add CGI to make these things possible.
Yeah.
And that's very exciting and interesting to me.
But a walk and talk is a very now common thing, and I think it works great in this scene because you've got a lot of exposition dialogue going on, and it's that kind of nice juxtaposition between the two groups. You get a really good sense to the power dynamic in an OCP, which again I think just adds flavor.
I'm surprised because I come from reviewing the Alien prequels, and I'm surprised that Ridley Scott films things in a fairly conventional way. I mean, his films, especially his earlier stuff, are very influential and very iconic, but It's not about where the camera's placed so much.
No, not that I can think of. I don't recall him doing like tracking or dolly shots or too much stuff like that. It seems
Chris Nolan does a lot of very experimental stuff.
Yeah, but I think Nolan's more of a technical director. He likes
He's very much, yeah.
He likes to push the envelope more than he does like to tell a story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like they're not even characters. They're just sort of chess pieces.
Well, also, and Chris Nolan can't direct action to save his life, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. Now, I noticed with this diorama for Delta City that it's not particularly detailed, but compared to what real dioramas look like for this sort of project.
It usually depends on the project. I think the modern day diorama is that, but you think about like, I think this is probably more like a movie prop diorama, whereas in movies they tend to just get a lot of foam board.
What is this, a school for ants?
They tend to just get a bit of foam board and some cardboard and just whack it all together, and they don't bother painting it. It's usually that thing they have, so they go to the set designers and say, look, this is the shapes, build it.
Yeah, and it doesn't really need to be super detailed because we don't see it too much in it, but it conveys the right idea in terms of if it's broken down to its most fundamental shapes.
Yeah,
and that conveys it. But what I find interesting is I actually ended up just watching some drone footage of a couple of different cities around the world.
Okay.
Because immediately what it reminded me of was Dubai, that it's this ultra-modern, shiny city with cohesive architecture because it was basically built all at once. And so it has this uncanny look. If you watch footage of Dubai, it looks like a resort, like, something you would find in Florida or something like that. But it's huge.
It is literally an oasis in a desert.
Yeah, and then I watched footage from Hong Kong, which I have actually been to Hong Kong, but just watching that drone footage, of a perspective I did not have when I went there, it's totally different to the vibe you get from Dubai. Hong Kong is this mishmash, cluttered, chaotic, beautiful cyberpunk city that is also incredibly humid.
I kind of prefer the, mishmash of old and new. Like when I spent some time in Malaysia, I spent a lot of time in the older parts because that's where usually I hate to say the common people live. I kind of like that sort of aesthetic more than I do like the shiny buildings, but I do like I keep bringing this up, but it's kind of been on my mind. But yeah, juxtaposition. I like the juxtaposition of old and new in a place sometimes.
I think why Dubai or this proposed Delta City is so uncanny is because we aren't used to that, and history makes buildings seem more alive. When something is brand new, we do not attribute a soul to it. You go into an old Victorian mansion and you can smell that history, like it hits you, it's in your skin, it's surrounding you. But you walk into a new, one of these...
like a skyscraper, and it's just like the sanitized, disinfected...
all those identical suburban estates that are popping up nowadays. My mum lives in one, and it looks so manufactured and artificial.
Yeah, there is this kind of trend now, especially like, the whole idea of like, not like a gated community, but like, those things... I've heard them in America, but they're not really over here, like homos associations, where it's just like, you have to have this approved color of the house, this approved roof, this approved garden. And it's like, fuck off.
Stepford Wives bullshit.
I bought my fucking house. If I want to paint my house bright pink with like dead...
My Little Ponies on it.
I was going to say, with dead grass, because let's face it, if I am horrible at gardening, and brown is a natural color. It's just as natural as green.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what's a better color? Pavement. This is where I get on my libertarian horse and go, the idea of some other bastard controlling my garden. Fuck off.
Yeah, you just made me realize that having a garden is such a boomer thing. Like the idea of me actually having to mow a lawn or even having a lawn. What the hell?
Fuck that noise. Fuck that noise.
No, thank you. Yeah, I'm an apartment boy forever.
Australian natural plants, just put them in a garden bed and pave the rest, and then you've got some low maintenance, great plant shrubbery thing.
Now, when you're making yourself a garden, what you want to do is get yourself... We
This
can't
old
use that, but-
Robocop. When you're finding a police officer that is gonna get killed, make sure you transfer him into the... Oh, God.
Yep.
Have you seen that cringy episode that the Greatest Gen Boys have pointed out? Of this old house where that white guy goes to...
Oh, that rings a bell. Yeah.
He goes to Motown.
Yes.
Oh, God, that's fucking wild.
I kind of want to watch it.
It's almost like watching that, you're going, oh man, I wish my skin color was anything but. I feel tremendously white watching this, and it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, going back to cities, it is interesting that, so in Perth, we've got a lot of new structures coming up now, but there's also a lot of old stuff, and that makes it feel real. It feels lived in.
Perth's been under construction for almost as long as I've been here. Like, it's almost never stopped.
Yeah, it's a city in progress.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm probably reading too much into it, but if there is some sort of parallel here with the idea of the old city and the new city and transhumanism putting Murphy into this new synthetic, all too perfect, shiny, unnatural body.
There's definitely got to be something in that. I can't read the filmmakers' brains. I can only go off their commentary. They haven't said anything like that, to the best of my knowledge, unless it was that minute I missed, because we're too busy talking about titties. Worth it. No, it's actually a really good thing, because part of the struggle, I guess, in regards to the city is old Detroit versus Delta City, and it is literally this bunch of rich entitled pricks want to come in, destroy Detroit City, but regardless of what lies it ruins, just because some rich old prick wants to have his dream come to life. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that feels like such a mood this year, especially.
Topical, yeah.
And I do think, it is just a kind of a pipe dream, and in fact, by the time we get to RoboCop 2...
It's a monument to one man's hubris.
Exactly. And no one kind of builds an entire city, at least on that scale that they're proposing, just overnight. I mean, literally, the old man is an old man. I think Dan O'Hurley actually died only a few years ago, but he was quite old. The old man would never have lived to have seen his dream accomplish, literally at that age.
Unless he himself became a RoboCop.
Ah, well, there is something to be said for that.
They have the technology.
Yeah, they can rebuild him. And he doesn't even need Viagra anymore. Oh, God.
So, in the middle part of this diorama, near the two tallest towers, there's just some giant stairs leading nowhere. What is the deal with that?
I can't tell you.
It's a feature that I really fixated on because it's kind of surreal and it seems like it's just there.
There's a video game that just reminded me of, and it's like, oh God, I can't remember which one it is.
What generation?
Oh, last 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Damn it. It's a futuristic one, and you have to have these tiered gardens on the side of skyscraper. I just can't remember what game it was.
Yeah, my brain's just Shadow of Colossus. It's not Shadow of Colossus. Shadow of Colossus, shut up, brain. You're not helping. It's Shadow of Colossus, shut up!
Well, no, they weren't lumbering giant monsters that you have to murder because you're evil.
Yeah.
You're just
those giants weren't doing anything.
I know. It's just we're all the monster deep down inside.
Could you imagine being murdered by something so tiny?
Yes, it's called arachnophobia.
They're more afraid of you than you are of them.
Oh, I'm not sure that's correct.
I know Australian spiders want to fuck you up, but...
Yeah, I moved to the great country for being arachnophobic. Isn't that awesome? Thank you, parents. That's fine.
I've never been afraid of any animals. I mean, there are some that are gross, but yeah, I'm not afraid of any animals.
Oh, I totally get that. My fear is completely irrational. Although small dogs are a bit of a pricks as well.
True.
No, just now I'm fixating on these damn steps, and that's the only thing I can think of. It has to be a form and function.
Yeah.
It's got a form, and it has to have a function.
Unless it's decorative.
You know what? These are rich pricks. It's probably just a way to show off their big dick energy.
Yeah, it's like this extra slab of fake stairs. It's going to cost you another couple of million. You sure you want to do it? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So there's so the second radio series of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there is a gag involving this 100-meter odd tall statue of Arthur Dent throwing a cup that's just suspended in air. It's not connected to his body or anything. It's just suspended in there. And the only reason it exists there because it is artistically correct. Sadly, this whole part of the Hitchhiker's Guide story, I don't think it was 100% written by Douglas Adams, so he just wrote it out of every subsequent novelization and everything else. But it's a really interesting gag, these birds made it, and because it's technically correct, the universe makes sure it stays suspended. And that's what I'm getting at. It's just like, it makes no sense. But
yeah, it sounds like the Hitchhiker's Guide audio drama has way more to it.
Yeah, second season is just completely wild. If you're hankering for some extra Hitchhiker's Guide and you've read all the books, yeah, check out the audio plays. In fact, I didn't like the later books, like Post the Cricket Wars, which was a recycled Doctor Who script, like half the Hitchhiker's Guide stuff tends to be. But I think as Douglas Adams was getting a bit more depressed with life, he started writing Hitchhiker's Guide a bit more sad and depressed.
Yeah.
And to the point where I just could not read, I think, Mostly Harmless, which is the 5th book. But the radio plays they made roughly about the same time as writing the movie, so about 2004, are really good. They adapt the novels, turn them into radio plays, they got the original cast back, and it's brilliant.
I wish we had more things like Sharda. That was really good.
Yeah, Sharda's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Especially now, for a serial that never got produced, how many times it's been remade?
Yeah. Best Doctor Who episode that never existed.
Yeah, exactly.
So, do you have any more notes, or should we jump over to Gaslighting RoboCop?
There's a desk phone where the old man's sitting. It's just a glorious prop because it looks like this futuristic tablet with all these buttons on there, but the phone handle is like a year-old phone handle.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's 26 seconds in. 26 minutes in will be a bit far out. I do have the audio commentary. So John Peterson? John Davison. John Peterson's a different director.
Jordan Peterson.
No, there's no lobsters in RoboCop, sadly.
Lobsters have a hierarchy.
And they're also armoured. So Robo Lobster would just be extra armour. So they talked about the location, which we've established that was in an actual high-rise building. They make some technical jokes about like the use of lights, which they couldn't actually afford. It was all natural lighting because that was a real office building. They just made it up. Here's the nugget. John Leonard drops that the budget of this movie was originally $10 million. It made, I think, just over $51 million in box office. So yeah, it made its money back. It wasn't cheap, but it was not an expensive movie for what it was. Although
compared to what we spend on movies now.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays a $10 million movie is a high-budget indie film.
Yeah, it's funny how it's like you have, $5 million movies and $200 million movies and nothing in between.
Yeah, I think I had that rant a few minutes ago, but it's Hollywood's weird like that now. There's no middle ground movies anymore, and that sucks.
Yeah, we're missing out.
We need more mid-tier movies. Like, that's a lot of 80s films are essentially like mid-tier budget films, and they went on to be gangbusters. But
I feel like we're missing a lot of movies actually aimed at adults because it's mostly all these PG, family-friendly things. The Star Wars, the Marvels, the everything, and we're not. There's nothing for me really.
Well, the problem is that typically R-rated films or NC-17 films, take your pick on whatever they want to call them, have not done well box office-wise in America. And of course, everything has to do with... Everything released cinematically has to be about box office. Even even if there's like, yeah, a $10 million film, if it fails to make $100 million, it's considered a failure sometimes. It's that absurd sometimes. But like things like, say, Deadpool became a big hit, and that was mostly due to Ryan Reynolds.
And it already had an established fan base. Same thing with Logan. I think that was another one.
John actually lets it drop that it came slightly above the $10 million budget. However, I did a little bit of digging. This movie ran up to $13 million, which is technically a third of the budget over. This movie kind of infamously ran over budget. Okay, not drastically over budget, but ran over time, ran over budget. And the studio were just like hammering Verhoeven to finish this. There is a very pivotal scene, which will come up in a few minutes, where they actually shot it last because Verhoeven knew that if he shot it earlier, the studio would want to reshoot it. And he didn't want them to reshoot it or even edit it down. So he filmed it last and went, okay, well, we're out of time and out of budget. It's got to be kept. I'll point that out when we get to it. So the only note I have left is the Star Trek drop.
Well, shit. It's exactly what I was hoping to spare you from.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I did a little digging. So we have essentially 5 main characters in this scene. We've already established the credentials of one, Ronnie Cox. I just couldn't think of his name because I wanted to call him Captain Jellicoe. So we have the old man, Dan O'Hurley. Wasn't in Star Trek. He was, however, in the original Battlestar Galactica.
Okay, that's something.
So we have Don Johnson, not that one, played by Felton Perry, who didn't appear in Star Trek. We have Kenny, who's played by Ken Page, also didn't appear in Star Trek. However, we have Bob Morton, played by the classic actor Miguel Ferrer, who was in Star Trek 3!
Was he one of the...
He was one of the executive officers on the USS Excelsior.
Oh, okay. I thought he was one of the aliens for some reason.
No, he was a human. He was on the Excelsior. Yeah. I don't think he might have a speaking role, but he is literally credited as executive officer. That's it. Not even a name. Not even Memory Alpha has a character name for him. No one invented a thing for him. He will still always be Bob Morton or what's his face from Hot Shots 2.
War. It's fantastic.
Yes.
But I think that's about it, except for the gaslighting of RoboCop.
Alex, how do you feel?
I feel fine, Dr. Norton.
He's fine. He hasn't even shown up yet, so...
he gets better. No. So my brain went to Monty Python. I don't know why.
Always, inevitably.
So shall I start off with my little synopsis?
This minute begins with Naveed confronted by the Ed 209 and ends with Pat Novak saying, "Whose products just saved my colleague's life?" There we go. I'm always slow on the minute thing. I always forget that I'm supposed to...
Hey, I told you, you don't have to deal with the RoboCop 2014 bullshit. I took the bullet for this. You know, I took the bullet because I wanted to take several bullets so I could become a new RoboCop.
I see your plan now.
My plan I just came up with literally as I was speaking it. So, my notes are that the ED-209 commits an international boo-boo while Sam Jacks doubles down on the corporate bullshit.
Yep.
So it's funny that literally the next minute of RoboCop is where we get the Ed 209 scene. And I think it's the minute after that is when Kenny gets killed off.
So it kind of lines up a little.
But it's amazing how much bullshit we had to get through just to get to this point in the movie, and nothing is still set up.
So much more has happened in RoboCop. Oh my god, we are like, it feels like, the new segment stuff, that was ages ago. And we're still on it.
I know. Here's the other thing. What's the classic line of Ed 209? I didn't mean to make that rhyme. Oh god, I'm
fucking hell, Willie.
Oh, it's almost that thing that might be the title drop. You have 20 seconds to comply.
Exactly.
He doesn't even give the kid 20 seconds to drop it off. It's like, you are a threat. Bang!
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like how they've animated him where Ed's just standing there.
Yeah.
And then in one frame, he just snaps down and he looks at this kid.
Yeah.
But but then he doesn't say anything. It's just, murder, death.
No, I think he says drop. No, he says drop the weapon.
Yeah, that's right.
That's it. And that's why I call it an international boo-boo, because it was caught on camera. You gotta remember, if this wasn't caught on camera, yeah, that probably happens a lot.
Yeah, isn't that a violation of the Geneva Convention?
Come on, when has America kind of,
Cared about that.
Yeah. They're too busy policing the entire planet for us.
So, the Pentagon cuts their feed, and now we take a violent right turn into the actual plot of the film. And what I'm reminded of, and maybe you can put this clip in there, but from Silence of the Lambs, where Hannibal's like,
Oh, no. You were doing fine. You had been courteous and receptive to courtesy. You had established trust with the embarrassing truth about Miggs. And now this ham-handed segue into your questionnaire. It won't do.
it's like you had one story going on.
I gotta find a copy of Silence of the Lambs. I honestly have not watched that in 30-odd years.
So good.
I need to rewatch it.
And I've read it, and I'm very into Hannibal.
Have you watched the original Mindhunter movie with
Manhunter?
Manhunter.
With
Gil Grissom from CSI and Brian Cox.
It's not as good.
I've heard.
But yeah, it very much is like, okay, so here's the plot, which is about drones and warfare and America occupying other countries where they shouldn't be and getting involved with their affairs. And then, why is America so robophobic?
Yeah,
What?
it's so... What the fuck are you doing, Sam Jacks?
They just showed a small child murdered by a giant robot, and then he just goes on his rant about why can't we use these machines here at home. I think you just demonstrated why you can't.
Yeah.
I get what they're trying to do, but I don't think this works as satire.
No, it doesn't.
I think you either have to play it up more, or you have to have a very obvious, we're covering this up.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing happened here, nothing to see here.
I have been thinking a lot about satire just recently, as I've been trying to fix my computer, and it's just like, that's almost satirical in and of itself. Yeah, at least it's farcical how much I've been having computer issues. But it's funny that satire is one of those things that it's got a deeply rooted history in comedy. It's a brilliant thing to use, and as much as I'm not keen on political satire for the most part, I do find it just gets dated within seconds and can be hit and miss. But satire in movies, like Verhoeven is almost a master at satire. Between this and Starship Troopers. And the problem with him being so masterful at satire is that people kind of believe it at face value.
And it's weird that this was written by the people who wrote RoboCop, the original.
Yeah.
So how the hell did that happen?
Well, okay, there's always going to be a... framing is a thing. You can have a satirical message in a script, but if it's not framed well as a move in the movie... unless we've got the script to actually compare, that's probably a loaded statement. But if the movie is not reflecting that, or at least go watch the whole plate, the episode where Lindsay talks about framing devices and how, say Michaela Bain, the script is saying one thing, but the cinematography is saying another thing. That can happen with comedy. If it's not framed right, if there's even if there's not even the slightest nudge and a wink, or if it's not even slightly funny, there's nothing to say that it's satire. And there's plenty of humor in RoboCop. We've already had one or two really great jokes, as much as we've had some just a lot of exposition and stuff like that. So you get a sense that there's humor in this, and it is a bit over the top. Whereas RoboCop, the remake, is just bland.
It is so bland, and
there's no edge to it. So
there's a few things like that. So I'm reviewing Tron Legacy on another Movies by Minute podcast, and that's another one where they've taken a movie that was so colorful and creative and just full of character, especially Jeff Bridges, and then you have this protagonist Sam Flynn, who is just so
bland.
Just everything's bland, just absolute flatline. There's just nothing notable.
Probably could not pick him out of a lineup.
Why the hell do we keep doing this with newer films? It's like we're going backwards.
I think that's the other thing is you definitely see trends in movies, like especially when it comes to like the trend of rebooting or remaking things. So like the 80s were a time where there was a lot of experimentation going on in things like, especially like science fiction. I mean, there's not just one science fiction in the 80s because you got, let's say Star Wars booted it off, but then you also had E.T., you also had... So Close Encounters was a lot more of a serious sci-fi. You had all the Star Trek films, but then you also had Back to the Future, and then you had Ghostbusters. So you have these just different takes on things, and they're not all straight and serious. A lot of them were damn funny.
Yeah, I think what makes 80s movies so appealing... So I was watching Bumblebee last night, and I was messaging you throughout, and it just made me realize that a great movie doesn't have to reinvent the wheel.
No.
And what makes a lot of those 80s movies so comforting, especially and rewatchable, is that they follow a familiar structure. So there might be totally unique stories in terms of the specifics, but there's a sense of familiarity.
Well, it's like, what's his face? Trying to think of the filmmaker. John Hughes?
Yeah, definitely. He has that.
He had a familiarity. Oh no, sorry. The one I think of is Chris Columbus, the director
also him too,
because he directed Home Alone and Harry.
No, John Hughes did Home Alone.
Because there's another.
They both.
Okay, so yeah,
They're both. Yeah.
Okay, so one of them directed a movie before Home Alone. The one who directed Home Alone, it's Chris Columbus. Adventures in Babysitting. I hadn't seen it until just recently.
Oh,
that is a great film.
That in years. Yeah, and Thor's in it.
Oh yeah. And
there's a character played by Vincent D'Onofrio who is Thor.
Yeah, I was going to say Go a Pile, but I wanted to get the Full Metal Jacket reference in there. If you look at Adventures in Babysitting, you can see almost this direct line to Home Alone, especially in thematic things, like the kids alone with no parents, exploring the city, all that type of stuff. Rich suburban, middle class, definitely a theme.
Yeah.
That house in Home Alone is just like, we never get a sense of what the father does, or potentially the mother and the father do. But man, they can afford to take the entire family of 20 odd members on a plane flight to the other end of the country.
Sells meth.
Yeah. It's the Breaking Bad prequel we always needed.
Exactly.
And it's... you probably couldn't get away with that kind of movie nowadays. I've heard they're talking about doing another Home Alone. I think that's also being spearheaded by Macaulay Culkin.
I would love Macaulay Culkin as an adult to be Home Alone again, which is normal because he lives alone. And then...
How great has Mac reinvented himself for the internet nowadays?
I love him on Red Letter Media. It's great.
Oh, he even turned up on Angry Video Game Nerd, and he's done a whole lot of different things. And it's just like, good on him. Good on him.
I think he's got a good sense of just where culture is going right now, and really getting into these fringe things. Like YouTube is both fringe and not fringe, and that's a perfect place for him.
Yeah, I'm fully on board, and if I am opening up, even though he has nothing to do with RoboCop. If he wants to guest on a podcast, oh no, I won't say no.
You don't say no to Mac.
No, you don't. He is now the Big Mac.
McCulkin, as Rich Evans said.
Oh God. Although, yeah, his brother's a fucking good actor. Just thinking back to Scott Pilgrim. Anyway. I feel this is going to be a pretty short episode compared to some of the other things. We really don't have much to say about...
we just got our kind of an introduction to Michael Keaton's character, Raymond Sellers.
The barest of bare minimums, yeah.
Yeah, Patton Novak's like, why can't we have robots? And this is the man who makes those robots, and he's the Steve Jobs of our story.
Yeah. I can't believe it's not Steve Jobs.
Yeah, who paid us to promote the robots...
Yeah, I think by that point when I first watched this, I was switching off. So I literally forgotten that Michael Keaton was introduced this early in the movie.
Yeah.
What is this thing where you get great actors and just give them nothing?
When you watch the original RoboCop, you watch it and you know why they're doing everything that they're doing.
Yeah.
and what the intention was. Whereas watching the remake, everything here is so convoluted already. We're not even 10 minutes in, and I'm already going, well, why'd you do that? That doesn't make sense. Why would you could have done that better?
Yeah.
I mean, hell, even Bloodshot I watched the other night. It was not a fun, good, bad movie. It was just boring.
No, I just told you it is an incredibly dumb film.
That
I
means
never
it
say
would
it's
be
good.
fun. No, but I like bad movies. It is not a good bad movie.
I enjoyed it because I'm just like, this is just pure cheese, and I've enjoyed the pure cheese. But it is. Go check out my
it's
vlog.
not like a Fast and a Furious movie where that's just.
Go check out my vlog, and Okay, so let's just talk about one particular scene in Bloodshot. So but
the opening part is at least kind of silly, and you're like, oh, okay, let's see what this goes.
The entire movie is just kind of just dumb and silly. There's a part at the beginning, the beginning act of this film, towards the end of the first act, where here's the thing: they barely say Vin Diesel's character's name throughout the entire film, and they never call him Bloodshot.
No. And he never looks like Bloodshot.
No, and he's credited in the end. He's credited in the end credits as Bloodshot.
It must have been filmed in 2003. That's the only way this movie makes sense.
It is such a late 90s, early 2000s film.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
I wish I had that much fun with it.
Oh, I do genuinely enjoy this film. I bought it on 4K. It's so dumb.
You're a monster.
I am a monster.
It's just so boring. Like, nothing happens. It doesn't get crazy.
Oh, I enjoy it for the cheap. I think it's just I fully admit, this is where I say about subjective versus objective movie reviewing.
Because I would say 2014 RoboCop is actually more enjoyable.
No, I would not I'll probably not go and say that.
Although for me, that might just be for the cyborg porn. So
let's be truthful. We all have our own subjective.
Kinks.
Yes, I cannot shame you for liking a movie.
Don't kink shame me.
That I like or something like that. I fully say out front, Bloodshot is not a good film. As a movie, it's just decidedly average. But the scene that killed me, because you actually messaged me this, and I actually talk about this on my vlog. So there's a scene where they're stuck in. Okay, so Bloodshot's hunted down this guy who he thinks killed him and his wife. It's complicated.
His wife, who is half his age.
We'll get to that. Anyway, so Bloodshot's blocked off this underground tunnel roadway, and he drives this tanker full of flour into it, and it explodes out all this flour.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is going to be hectic. Oh, I can't wait for this.
That's going to be explodey. I was fucking shooketh. That's my friend Dana said in the video, because she was there with me. Because no explosions happen. They're like throwing grenades and flashbangs and flares and nothing!
I know, it was so hilarious. It was almost like something out of a parody where, maybe someone's surrounded by oil or something, and like every flammable thing passes their way.
But nothing explodes. And the funny thing is, part of the point of that scene was that he's trying to get into a heavily armored truck. I think to kill a guy.
What was the point of the flower?
It was probably because someone just went, you know what we need? Particle effects. Because they look cool. Oh, man, this movie's fucking dumb.
So, I think that's everything we've got for RoboCop.
I know. I'm just trying to think of... Because this is also a very exposition-heavy scene. It gets ramped up in the next 2 minutes.
It doesn't get to the point of Nolan's Tenet movie. Jesus Christ.
No, I've not heard any good things about that except from the Nolan stans.
Yeah, my brother's a bit of a Nolan stan, so he was like, oh, it was really cool, and they do all this. Yeah, but I'll forget about it.
Anyone defends Dark Knight Rising does not have a good taste in films.
Wait, but hang on. Okay.
Except for Bane. Bane is awesome.
I have been tempted to do a Dark Knight Rises movies by minute, just because Tom Hardy is an international treasure, and what the fuck, Bane, I love him.
I want to do a supercut of Bane, like, that's it, just Bane. And Batman gets broken in half and he's stuck down a well. That's the movie. Capitalism is destroyed, Gotham just becomes its own fiefdom, and Bane wins the day.
What I love about Bane is that he is actually the good guy. It's just that the comics are propaganda against him.
Oh, have you ever seen the Badman skits from
Yes.
College Humor? The one with Bane is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
With Talia al Ghul. It's like, oh god. Yeah. Batman's dying and he's still being a fucking douchebag. Oh, so I think that about wraps this up. I'm going to steal your comment.
My line.
I know. I can't think of anything else, but yeah, I wish there was something more that we could get out of this minute, but I think we've probably mined it dry, so it's going to be a short one.
Yeah.
Which is good for me, because I'm lagging behind, because, oh god, I've got so much to edit. Where can the lovely viewers find you, Connor?
You can find me on traviandesigns.com, Travan, or on Patreon, patreon.com/traviandesigns, where you can get Alien Covenant and Tron Legacy movies by minutes right now.
Awesome. And you can find me at Fanboy Crossing. It just Googles the YouTubes and all the other stuff, but I also do Kung Pao Enter the Minute. I have Patreon, but who cares about shit about that? Yeah, I have Ko-fi and Patreon. Just look for Fanboy Crossing on those platforms. But please just, you know what? Don't give me money. I mean, give Connor money. I'm not going to stop you doing that. But you know what? We need an audience. Please share, like, subscribe, do all those things. We are on Simplecast Audio. We're on YouTube. Just Google the shit for that. And we're also on, at the moment, we're on Spotify and Google podcasting platforms. And once all the technical issues are solved, I should be able to get other stuff done. So once again, thank you very much for joining me on this crazy adventure.
Bye.
That was short.